Recording.
Call the meeting to order, the special town board meeting, Wednesday, October 8th, 2025, 5 p.m. We're located at Palmyra Town Hall, W1125, Highway 106, Palmyra, Wisconsin. Certification of compliance with open meetings law.
Yes, the agenda was posted timely.
Roll call.
Diasti.
Here.
Martins.
Here.
Sorry.
Here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, gentlemen. Number one, continued workshop for 2026 budget year. Any and all town budget matters may be discussed during this workshop. Action or direction regarding budget items may be taken and additional budget meeting dates may be set. Where do we want to start? Gosh.
Since last meeting, worked with Michelle primarily on the general property tax income for 2025. Long story short, the revised amount here, we were at about 713, I believe, last meeting. We're gonna end at 676, which is much closer, 0.4% higher than what the budget amount was.
Oh.
These guys here. So, with that being said, where we landed at the end of the last meeting is we had taken the $84,000 out of the equation for debt service proceeds this year. We had 105. Where that put us was at a surplus. I don't recall the number off the top of my head. That surplus was then applied as fund balance applied for 2026, yada yada. With the reduction of, or the clarification, not a reduction, but
Right.
the accuracy of the year-to-date estimate for 2025 for the tax roll. If we do not borrow a portion of the 84,000, it puts 25 in the black, in the red, excuse me.
36.
By 36, correct. So, although we planned on, I'll say planned on drawing, and then we talked about not drawing. If we don't draw, at least 36,630, if all the rest of the expense projections work out accurately,
So
we would end in the red by 36,600.
So if we can hold back, not spend, what did you have left of the tree budget, 24, 20?
Tree service, we actually only budgeted about $6,500 to the end of the year.
Well, if we're lucky, we won't spend any, but.
Well, these are invoices for October.
Oh,
So this yellow kind of shady pale, you can't really see it, shady pale yellow box here.
yeah,
Those are invoices that we have received.
so, but looking to the actual 27, so we're spent about 33, so that leaves us about 17, 18-ish. If we can hold off and not spend that, let's say get that call in the middle of the night or whatever. We can gain, see.
I don't think we can count on that. I think it's gonna snow.
No, we're talking tree service.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it depends if we got some heavy wet snow, yeah, be out there in the middle of the night. But I'm just throwing that out there, Rob, saving there. Another thing, we can talk about a little bit on this Prairie Road stuff at the budget here or not?
I think it's on.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah.
So you wanna.
It says any and all town budget matters may be discussed during this workshop.
Yeah, number 2. discussion, possible direction on the.
Right, but even number one says any and all budget related items.
The only thing I'm gonna mention about that, after what we got for estimate the other night, I would suggest that you're the road person over there. Josh, there are quite a few things over there, but anyway, whatever we can do just to fill in the dangerous areas and go the cheapest route to get through the end of the year, to try and save some money. But still accomplish.
But does the cheapest route mean we're gonna have to do it again next year?
I'm talking about spending $2,000-3,000.
Yeah, but does that mean what the cheapest gets us through this year, but then come spring, all of a sudden it's, whatever the problem is back and we have to do it again? That's, I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just asking the question, is the cheap way, I get why you're saying that, so I'm not disagreeing, but does that just mean just kicking the can down the road for more road work on Little Prairie next spring, or summer?
It could, yes. But if, I don't know what something like that would cost to throw some stone in there, something that would drain in those areas that are washing out.
Well, isn't that what his, wasn't a total fix of it, what he gave us in that list?
Maybe Josh.
Sort of, but it's also a fair amount more than just shouldering. He's talking
Oh,
about,
no, let's just do the shoulders and stuff.
he's talking about adding ditches and, it's in this file somewhere, one of the frame there.
I'm just trying to keep us into the black.
They're talking about $400 worth of essentially hot mix for shoulder material, $300 worth of ditching, or $300 feet of ditching, 500 foot of ditching and hauling spoils. You know, so there's more than just filling in missing shoulders in that quote.
It's a thought that they're trying to get us through, to keep us in the black. And if we did that, we could probably carry over some money for the next year, maybe have, do something with possibly roads or something with it. Is that fair to assume, Josh?
Potentially, yes. The biggest variable we have through the end of the year is ice and snow. You know, we've got
55,000.
Yeah, right now we've got 5 snowfalls prepared in the budget as to be used.
So there's an extra 55,000 there. If we don't go above the 50,000, you've got plugged in for the balance of the year.
Correct. Yeah. So if, let's say it snows twice. Let's just.
And it's a 10 grand per approximately.
Yeah,
That's what I'm estimating.
that's a full snowfall. That's 6 inches there out there. The whole thing.
So if it only snows twice, then we would go to 6 grand in the hole. If this number turns out to be more like that, then we're okay.
I think we have to plug in the worst case scenario, or at least medium case scenario.
Yeah, which is kind of where I'm at
Right.
at the moment, without having any other info to go off of. So before I screw this up, I'm going to turn this back to 5. So where that logistically, one way or the other, because we don't have a whole lot of fund balance, and this is another option that we have, because there are like snow variables and some other information we're waiting for, that instead of borrowing any money, we currently have $91,364 in the LJP.
And that doesn't go in there.
That is just, it's correct. It's not accounted for, it's sitting as fund balance, right? So we would even with our projections, conservatively through the end of the year, if we're wanting to, I'll call it, roll the dice and see without drawing any money of that 84, we've got the ability to do it because we've got 91 sitting in the LGIP.
And it's middle of October already.
Pretty close.
We can leave it sitting there until the end of, middle of December and make decisions at that point, right? If we need to pull it. I mean, we've got to come up with a balanced budget, but.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes and no. We've got generally enough in our checking to make another month's worth of, call it the November bills, ballpark. It's pretty close to where we're at. So.
With the 105,
No, right now we've got almost 41 grand in our checking.
That was as of September 30th.
Ah, that does not include October's bills from Monday. Okay, yep, got it. So the 105 is I'm gonna call it a necessity.
Yeah.
We already have the 31 payback from LRIP included under highway and bridges revenue to help offset some of that. So that's accounted for as
in this.
as a stream of revenue, yes,
Okay.
to offset the expense that we've got. So some amount has to go in this pink and yellow box here, whether it's 105, 189, whatever that number is realistically just going to play with what this in the red number is at the end of 25. With that being said, what we don't have in here, and I'm just going to do this for the visualization, we're going to use our fund balance all the way down to 0. Okay? As a situation. Oops, 91. Okay? That means that we've technically got 54 grand to either move towards ice and snow if we end up with 6 instead of 5 snowfalls, or whatever the scenario is, but that leaves us with a nice round number in the LGIP one more time.
Why not just put whatever figure it takes to
We could
come up with 0?
You mean the nice round numbers of 40 grand?
No, the nice round number is 0. Because we wouldn't have anything in the LGIP is essentially like our savings account, if you would. And the checking account more or less floats month to month and is the cash flow piece of it. So we easily could do that and say we're going to apply LGIP money
And make it 0.
to balance the end of the year. My point is, by doing it the other way, my point is that if we put in all of what we've got, we would have room for $54,000 worth of we didn't forecast in this budget down here. So we wouldn't have to draw the 84 if everyone is generally on board, knowing that the alternative is we are transferring money out of the LGIP into the checking to straighten that part of it out.
One more time though. We can see how this goes. I mean, now that we're at the 1st of December, we haven't had any trees. What are we gonna do for mowing? We got 10 grand basically left in there. Where is that? We budgeted what?
$97.50 for the last one. Yeah. Which, quite honestly, I mean, we've had.
Which takes us right up to budget.
Yep. Yeah.
So there's no extra money there.
We've had luckily, a dry 6-week period here.
We might not even have to do but a couple roads and make one pass or something.
They can one pass because we ended up at somewhere around, it was a little more than 9,000 to do the mid-year, and they did one pass on every single road. So there's some where, frankly, they may not really even have to.
Right, so we probably save a little money there.
Well, we're not saving any, but we're gonna be okay with
Yeah.
what we budgeted, because the spring mowing was like 11,000 and something.
Right,
The summer mowing was, I wanna say 9,300, so.
If we took ice and snow, the 25 budget 160.
Yep.
And we reduced that by 36,000 to 124,000, whatever the exact number is, 124,000 with a budget amendment. Doesn't that take us to zero as well? Because we've got 50 planned for the balance of the year, which only takes us to 105.
Correct.
If we reduce the 160 to 124, that balances without using any of the LGIP,
No, cause this is just budgeted. This is budget,
right?
and this is what we've actually spent.
Right. Right.
So like patching, we would have to net it with every other single account, which we're obviously short. So the budget made up the total number down here, 1.43 million. The fact that we haven't used all of that line item budget doesn't mean that we haven't potentially put it somewhere else.
True.
So that's the big kicker.
any signs.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
We're
Yep.
offsetting the
Yep.
short, we're offsetting
Yep.
the,
That's.
Yes.
we're offsetting the room in the budget by other things.
Put that in that file too with the chicken
So-
farm. You know what I'm saying?
Um,
Because he wants that. Makes sense?
Well, yeah, interesting.
Because they said they bring us back to that.
signage,
Signage,
Yep.
my mileage, or running around, this, that, and keeping a log on that, and we'll figure out where it comes out.
which is why I wanted to have that put in emergency management when we
Right.
started with this whole thing. We did get that invoice from Wayne last night, and that was one of the first things that came to mind, is that we've got, I mean, any is a bonus, not tons and tons of expenditures on it, but there are definitely some that
Exactly.
we should talk to them about, I think.
Do you know what the mileage went into emergency as well?
I think it would be smart.
The whole thing was nothing but that, 149 or whatever.
By the way, I'm just choosing not to turn in my mileage for the fire and EMS meetings I had. I'm just not gonna turn in my mileage.
So that's kind of the nuances of new information since we met last week, is that we definitely have to do something with the Tamarack Road balance, because we do,
Tamarack Road balance.
the 105,
Oh,
that's what I'm calling it. The 105 was
Tamarack Road. Yeah.
all related to that repaving.
So
So,
we need to put zeros in the two lines above that, because zeros meant there was gonna be nothing there, blanks meant we still had.
yeah, this one is in our chart of accounts, but
we don't.
we don't use it, so
Alright.
I can just read this. We'll take care of that, but yeah, this one is in our,
That's, okay, back to the fire EMS, that's still sitting, or no, you got 350 there. You didn't put 450, did you?
so if we are sort of leaning, and I'm not saying we are, but if we're sort of leaning on letting the dice roll to see, to see what the rest of the year brings from ice and snow and whatever else, where I would suggest we put, to Rob's point before, where I would suggest we put balancing 2025 is that we're planning, rather than borrowing money, we're planning on using down LGIP funds, which would leave us with 54,000 or so left in there at the end of the year, if all of the rest of this plays out.
Yeah. If we use this stuff.
If we end up-
The snowing, or the snow budget, if we use up all the tree budget, if we use up all the.
Well, we're not using up the budget, we're getting to our projection. Because if we use up the rest of our ice and snow budget, this goes to 105,000 and we end up way in the hole. So it's not using up our budget amount. It is meeting what we are projecting at this point is going to be our expenditures. There's a huge difference between that because of where some of these are still have room in the budget and where other line items don't.
What's the rule, law, whatever, related to plowing? Is it 3 inches or more they go out and plow? Is it 2 inches? When do they, what's the requirement? Is there a law?
Maybe we could probably get a forecast of there's gonna be sleet coming, so then it's gonna be, briny. And what happened, sandy in the intersection. You just don't know, only Mother Nature knows what she's gonna hit us with.
So there isn't technically a rule or a measurement that goes along with that. What it comes down to is if more so management of liability.
Yeah, it's a safety.
And if the town becomes, let's just say it this way, if the town becomes aware that Little Prairie Road is completely iced over and there's 4 cars in the ditch and we choose not to do something, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
If there's 6 inches of snow on the ground and we choose not to plow because it's gonna snow for 12 more hours and they're gonna come in at 2 in the morning to plow when there's 9 inches of snow rather than 6, that's an operational decision.
Yeah, and that's why I asked, just to see if our estimate was accurate. And I think putting 5 in there is probably good for right now.
Well, where do you wanna leave this at?
So here's the next piece of this whole puzzle. With that scenario playing out, where we're not drawing any more of the 84, and we're only issuing the notice for the issuing the service for the 105, which is on our agenda to discuss tonight. I get that. What that leaves us is, I'm not saying 0 fund balance applied, because we still have 53,400 whatever left in there in the LGIP, so we still could put fund balance applied. But conversely, I'll show you this in a second, right? If we take this and we are going to borrow the 84, okay, that puts us with a surplus of
50 grand.
47,370. So what I did for visual purposes when we started is I said the amount we're borrowing this year that is left over is going to be fund balance applied in 2026. So that takes the $41,000 in the hole, and it puts it
With the 91, we're up to 135 or whatever, right?
with the 91.
There's 91 in the fund balance right now, and if we'd be adding 47 to it.
We'd be at 137.
Right.
And then we would take 47,300 of that back out to help balance 2026's budget,
Yeah, right.
which then puts it, this is kind of the dumb part, I'm using these numbers because it's a direct relation.
Yeah.
This cell to this cell, right? And then down at the bottom, we say, okay, well, if we're gonna end up in the black by $6,500, what we're really gonna do is we're gonna put $6,506 back in the fund balance to make that 0 one more
Or
time.
don't you just make it 41,000 up above and there's nothing down below?
Yes, we 100% can do that. We've had 14 meetings on the budget from a public presentation standpoint of where's your borrowing going? What are you doing with the money? By matching what we're over here with what we're saying we're applying here
Okay.
as revenue, and down at the bottom, it becomes a
Clear.
black and white, literally.
Much clearer. this way, I got you.
Yeah. It's, the sum of it is absolutely,
Right,
that
but
we're
no,
really
I-
only putting
I agree with you.
41,000,
I agree
you
with
know
your
what I mean?
explanation.
So, with that being said, let me undo this one more time, just so we're all on the same page. 84,000 goes there, that goes back in the hole. We're gonna put 36,630 as, hang on, wrong cell. 36,630, fund balance applied, that goes to 0. This goes away because we don't have the additional proceeds from debt to apply to it. And then this part comes back out and leaves us at roughly $41,000 short.
Well, let me ask a question, and maybe these should have been reversed. Should we pause the budget, go to number 2, and then come back to the budget after we've made decisions, or number 3, after we've made those decisions, then come back to the budget so we can plug it in there?
We 100% could.
Because right now, we're still guessing until we decide what we're gonna do with
Yep.
3, right?
So before we table this until after number 3, work through the same problem for 2026 that we just worked through to balance 2025. It's the same fundamental thing, right? We're short by 41 at 350. This could get real ugly real fast, right? But with what we've got presented, we can do a couple of things. Again, these gold tiered columns, gold fonted columns, cells, I'm sorry. We could adjust these down. Simple math is to do this and make that right? We're not gonna do proactive tree service, and we're gonna hope the bids actually come back a little bit less for replacing the culvert on Piper Road. Now our budget balances, that's an option. I'm just throwing it out there from the depiction of what can we do to make this balance.
Yeah, I think that's short-sighted on our part to do that, to short those, but it is, you're right, it is an option.
So, again, 2 additional things. Proceeds from debt. If we don't use the 84 this year, we still have it available. It's in the line of credit. It's open until 2028. Okay?
This whole thing's gonna be paid off by 29.
28.
28.
26, 7, 8. By July of 28. Okay? So we could put that instead of drawing it now, we're gonna draw 40,864. Okay? That changes my little mathematical thing down here as far as what we have to pay back for debt service. But it's an option. If this comes back at what they had put in their budget at their last budget meeting, we're obviously well short of that. It would be somewhat clearer if we tried to do one of these scenarios or the other to try to present a balanced budget than it would be to do if then, based off of 2 different things.
For the November meeting.
Correct. If we are aware that they're down to 900 grand-ish as a budget and they had put in 450 for our portion of the cost of service, we could do it that way. Or we could leave what we offered them and hope that within the next week they have a meeting and figure out if they agree to that or not. But there's a couple different things that are going into this that are going to be time sensitive specifically, which is proceeds from debt, right? How are we gonna do that? and fund balance applied. Because fund balance applied at this point, if we do 350111 like that, then we say fund balance applied is this, we would then know that our LGIP would have roughly, call it 13 grand in it, out of the 91 we currently have.
What's the 99,822 in red?
That's the difference between 25 Spire and 30 Spire, 30 Spire, 26 Spire.
Okay, so,
I mean, from the practicality at this point, we can get rid of that, I think, because
you think I should call Gorsinger after? You know, what else going on? I'll call him.
I mean,
I'm just gonna tell him we have to post something by the 22nd, correct? 22nd?
The more we let them know budget pressure we're under time-wise, the less
That's what
leverage we have.
and again, the point,
If we don't know we have to have by then.
If they know we're getting really nervous and stuff, then that does lessen our leverage. Because they have budget constrictions too, timing, they have to get theirs done.
Oops, yeah, that was my Monday.
the unfortunate part is that they've got an additional, well, okay, so let me back this choo-choo train up, just to be clear on a handful of things. The village sets their budget hearing based on the board's desire to set that. We have to do it at the annual electors meeting in April. So, similar, what's up?
November.
Correct. Middle of November is when it's historically been done.
You say, that's what I see.
No, I'm sorry. The annual electors, the annual town meeting is in April.
Right.
The annual electors meeting is in November. So the timeline behind that, middle of November, has always given the town clerk treasurer enough time to do the final pieces of the puzzle, get the information to the county, yada yada yada, to get the actual tax deadline, which is like December 2nd or 3rd or something like that. So the village has, unfortunately for us, they have almost an additional month to finalize their budget in comparison to us, because we have to publish the budget for the mid-November meeting.
Why is it so different between towns and villages?
Because town residents get to vote on the budget.
Yes.
Again, why the difference between the two? Just out of curiosity, or the rationale.
Oh, we could make this the village of the town of
No, it is what it is, I'm just
We
curious.
would have to pick a different name. We could be the city of Palmyra and pull up Pewaukee, which is what happened there. The village of Pewaukee was surrounded by the town of Pewaukee, which is now the city of Pewaukee, and the city of Pewaukee surrounds the village.
Let's talk.
You want it?
That's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Good point. So, that's kind of where we are right now, is that we sort of have to, or get off the pot on how we're going to present this, because and from a logistical standpoint, if we end up again, in the position where the town of Palmyra has 13 grand to its name, it's not a real good financial position, and it's going to continue to lead into the exact same thing we ran into in 2023 and 2024, asking for levy exceedances.
Well, let me ask you a question related to that then.
Yep.
If as it is sits right there the way you have it.
Sorry.
If it sits there and we've got it balanced.
Mm-hmm.
That says we're not going for we're not asking the voters, the electors,